Welcome back to the Bourbon Lens with your hosts, Jake and Scott. And in this week's episode, we're excited because we're talking Scott's favorite sport, NASCAR, and mixing it with bourbon. And what better way to do this than with the kickoff of Kyle Busch rocking the Rebel brand this weekend. So we have Kyle Busch and John Rimpey joining us from Lux Row Distillers to be able to talk all things Rebel and all things racing this weekend. So sit back and buckle in and listen to our newest episode featuring Kyle Busch and John Rimpey. John and Kyle, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. And in this first time ever episode, Scott is going to host because he is our NASCAR expert. I'm just throwing
that on me.
Yeah, just bring it on him. But Scott, how excited are you to talk NASCAR? I got to talk a little IndyCar last year with Connor Daly, and you get to talk NASCAR, and your son is a huge Kyle Busch fan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to my son because he's a big Kyle Busch fan, has been a Kyle Busch fan all his life. So shout out to Liam. And yeah, it's exciting because I always sprinkle in a little bit of NASCAR talk into our podcast. And when I saw the press release go out, Rebel Bourbon was going to be wrapped around a NASCAR going nearly 200 miles an hour. I just thought that was pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool as well. And Kyle, this goes way back when I was when you were a young gun on the circuit. We did a project.
I'm not young anymore. I got it.
Well, no, young gun. There's a difference between being young and being a young gun, because I was a whippersnapper at that point. And so we did a project. I think it was like your first 1 or 2 years in the circuit, and we talked about the M&M's car and how you affect branding for M&M's in our business class. And so it was pretty cool. And we did fantasy NASCAR that year, and it was a lot of fun. And I didn't know I could have that much fun paying attention to cars going around a track. Left,
there you go.
Left,
nice.
left. So yeah, it's
not
been.
Sure, I've heard of that being a way that we've ever brought fans into NASCAR, but so be it.
Hey, business booms many ways, right?
That's right.
So let's dive in here. So when this opportunity came to you, what did you think, or had you ever, thought about bourbon as a sponsor in the past, or, what appealed to you when this kind of idea popped up?
Well, I mean, for us, being in the industry, sponsors are kind of hard to come by, but anytime you're always driving down the road or you're looking at billboards or you're looking at buildings or something like that, you're like, oh, they could be a sponsor. They could be a sponsor. They could be a sponsor, So it's always just kind of about the partnership and how you can figure out how to bring that into the sport and into the team that you're with. And so fortunately with my guys at Richard Childress Racing and everybody at Lux Row Distilleries, bringing the Rebel Bourbon brand on board of our number 8 Chevrolet Camaro for this year is going to be really exciting for me. I mean, I'm pumped about it. I always kind of had, or have thought back to some of the other brands that have been in our sport before. And, maybe there was a little jealousy there when I was 21, thinking like, man, that'd be cool to drive that car. I'd love to give that a shot and give some, wins to them and some great advertisement to them and build the brand. And so here we are today with Rebel Bourbon and looking forward to our first stat of that at Richmond this weekend.
No, that's awesome. And John, were you a NASCAR fan prior to this partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up. My dad, he was a huge NASCAR fan. Yeah, he was an engineer. He worked for a company that made honing equipment, and he went to a bunch of races. He always talked about going to Talladega, and he went there every year. I have never been to a race. Actually, this weekend will be my first race that I'll actually attend. So I'm pumped about that.
You'll have the red carpet treatment too. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember my first race was at Kentucky Motor Speedway, and it was great. The fans are wild. Like, I've been to every sporting event possible, football, Sugar Bowl, NFL games, playoff games, baseball, playoff games. They're all wild, but nothing compares to the fans at NASCAR. Like, they're in it. They're there. You have people up wandering around. You got people that are devout fans that are just watching it. It's an experience all on its own. It's like they take over these cities for that week, and it's just wild, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah. I think the best part is, when you go to a football game, you've got the red team and you've got the blue team, so you got two teams, but in the middle of the stands, you've got literally people that are fans of every driver, past and present too. Sometimes you'll see some some throwback fans in the stands. So there's a lot of like competitive nature inside the stands as well, which is pretty cool.
What makes that dynamic a little bit more intense is, say, when you're not the most popular driver or well-liked driver, it's like you have your legion of fans that like you, and that could be, let's say, 10% of the population. So that means anybody else that's not wearing your stuff is going to be a hater on you. So you got 90% that aren't liking you. But I've turned the tables a little bit the last few years, which has been really, really good. And so now I feel as though, maybe I'm up to about 50-60% of being liked. So I'm trending in the right direction.
It's definitely something I've noticed as well. My son's been a Kyle Busch fan forever. I was not the big Kyle Busch fan. I used to be a big Jeff Gordon fan. So it's like the tides kind of have changed over the years. And obviously now there's a couple more villains in the sport. Not that you were a villain, but people are like,
"Oh no, I was." That's okay.
Yeah, yeah. but that's one thing you embrace. Rowdy Busch. I think that's something that's part of the image and the persona, and it has evolved over the time. I think a little bit of it has been as you've gotten older in the sport. There's been a lot of what we call young blood. So you're kind of the elder statesman of the sport. So people look up to you in different ways. Less of he's the new guy that's coming in and just trying to put everybody behind him. So,
well, I've always been around to provide those memorable moments for our race fans out there. So as well as the Rebel brand alike, we're ready to do some more of that and some celebration of the Rebel spirit in all of us.
Yeah. That's exactly where I was going. So you could dare say that Kyle was once a rebel in the sport, which is pretty cool. We're going to talk bourbon in 1 second, John, I promise. Sure, but I do have a question for Kyle when it comes to racing. When you think about, where racing is now and the popularity it's continuing to gain, what was like the one memorable moment that you've had that are a couple memorable moments that you've had that have really kind of stuck out in your career so far?
Racing moments, I would say, I look back on my championship year, of course, of 2015 and how that started. I didn't even make the Daytona 500 that year. I was in a hospital bed with a broken leg and a broken foot from the previous day's events in the Xfinity Series race. And spent 11 weeks in rehab getting back going, and then got back in the race car, was able to win 4 races to get ourselves a ticket to the playoffs. And then through the playoffs, ran really well, had some strong runs there to carry us into the Final Four, to give us that shot to race for a championship at Homestead Miami Speedway. And, when we were there for that race, I essentially was like, hey, we're playing with house money. Everybody doesn't think we should be here. So let's just take this as a learning experience and use it for next year and come back and win this thing. But the seas kind of parted and everything went our way. And we ended up becoming champions at the end of that night. So awesome memories of 2015 and what that season really meant. And then, of course, in 2010 as well as 2017, I swept all 3 races at Bristol. So you've got the Cup Series, which is the top, then you got Xfinity, and then you got the Truck Series. And those are the top 3 levels of NASCAR. And nobody's ever won a race in those divisions on the same weekend at the same track. And so I was able to do that twice. So that's another really cool memory I got.
Yeah. People don't realize it's not easy to go sit in a car going 200 miles an hour, for however many laps. I NASCAR non-enthusiast.
500 at Bristol.
Yeah. Like that is a ton of work and strain on your body, and mental strain too, and fatigue from dehydration and all the stuff that you all got to go through, in those things, as an athlete. What's it like to recover from something like that?
Yeah. Kind of why I was late this morning. I'm still recovering from the race on Sunday. So, it's tough. There's definitely different races. Like you said, there's different races that fatigue the body and the muscles and the joints and things like that. And then there's different races that also give you mental fatigue of just overthinking things and going through the strategy of it. And also just trying to play the chess match that you have, particularly at the restrictor plate races. So, for us, I would say, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're probably back to normal. And during that time, even which, you try to get in the gym and you try to work out no matter how tired you are, just to kind of get the blood flowing and get the things kind of back loosened up again, to prepare for the next week. So you're not behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I'm gonna stretch this into whiskey here. So watch this transition, everybody. So John, like a good person, right? You all are constantly, stretching, your all's bounds and continuing to do new things and think differently at Lux Row Distillers. Over the last several years, you all have been able to put your all's own liquid in the bottle and stretch how people think about the brand. Like, what's the reception been since people have been able to try the whiskey that you all have created there actually in Bardstown?
Yeah, that was the most exciting thing for myself the last few years, was getting that distillery up and running and making that transition from source whiskey into whiskey that I'm making there at the distillery itself. And the reception's been outstanding. We had a really great partnership with the distillery we were sourcing from. So we were able to pretty much mimic exactly what they were doing to make that transition from that whiskey into our whiskey as seamless as possible. And the whiskey tastes great, and people seem to love it. So it makes me smile.
Mm. Yeah. So as you do that, Kyle, right? Like, what was it like for you to come up and experience Kentucky bourbon, like it was to go through the immersive experience, to see the distillery, to even bring a little NASCAR flair and do some donuts in the parking lot? What was it like for you to kind of bridge that gap between the sponsorship and actually seeing what's happening with this bourbon boom across the world?
Yeah, with all of the things that I do with all the sponsors and whatnot, I always kind of like to get in the trenches with everybody behind the scenes and see exactly what the companies are like and what all they do and what they go through on a daily basis. So to get an understanding of coming up there to Lux Distilleries and to see how the bourbon is actually made and to understand the processes of which they go through and the different things that and ingredients and all that they have that they use was really intriguing to me and made it very interesting. So being as though I never thought of it that it's clear before it goes into the barrel, and then it gets its color through the barrel and everything else, so very unique process. And then two, while you go through the tasting process and you're trying to taste the different, whether it's a nutty flavor or a caramel flavor or a vanilla flavor, you're trying to get some of that. So I wouldn't say that I necessarily ever sat there and tasted it that way before. So it was definitely a unique experience for me. So I'm excited for the Rowdy Nation fans out there this year to be, purchasing the Rebel and then to be doing the tasting as much as I have, or to just be consuming responsibly as well as enjoying it on the couch with, on the rocks.
Yeah. I think that's one of the cool things about NASCAR too, is when your driver has a sponsor or, is affiliated or associated with a brand, you typically lean towards that. And I mean, I know that's the goal, right? It's, when there's something on the car, you want to go to the store and find it on the shelves. You want it on your bar or in your kitchen or in your house, so it's or that's a store where you shop. So I think that's one cool thing that's, hopefully going to bring some people to experience bourbon, because I know NASCAR is kind of a beer drinking sport. So I think it's kind of cool, because I know I like to enjoy a bourbon every now and then with a NASCAR race on Sunday. So
absolutely. No, we're well versed in the space of which we want to promote safe drinking, right? But obviously everybody around our sport years ago, like I said, I remember the other different sorts of liquor brands that have been on cars before, and have always kind of just been a little jealous of those guys and having their promotions that they were able to have. So now, me being one of those guys, I'm excited about the paint outs that we have this year. I know the Rowdy Nation fans are excited about it as well too, coming up this weekend at Richmond. And then again, we have it at Gateway. And then a little later this year, we'll have it at Homestead Miami Speedway. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Sounds like it's the Rebel brand's gonna be hitting some great tracks this year around the Kyle Busch's car. So that's exciting. And one of the other exciting things is this new product that we have in our hands, which is the Rebel 100 aged 6 years. So John, can you tell us a little bit about this aged 6-year-old wheated bourbon that you all have created and that's starting to hit the marketplace now?
Yeah. So our original Rebel 100, that's a 4-year wheated bourbon. That mash bill, 68 corn, 20 wheat, 12 malt. This is aged up just a little bit, up to 6 years. So it kind of showcases really the effect that maturation has on whiskey. You get about 70 to 75% of your flavor from the barrel. So the longer it's in the barrel, the more developed that profile is going to be. So you can really compare it with the Rebel 4-year versus the 6-year, and you can really just see the transition up to, you're really getting more vanilla, caramel, a little bit more honey notes, smooths out a lot. Obviously the colors is going to be darker also, but I love it because we've got that Rebel 4-year, we've got the 6-year now, and we've had the Rebel 10-year single barrel.
My favorite.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mhm.
That 6-year, that's really getting into that sweet spot in the maturation cycle where you're really starting to get that good flavor development. And I'm just so excited to put that out there so people can really just compare and see that transition.
Well, yeah, I mean, talk about growth, right? The way the whiskey can mature from 4 years to 6 years is infinite, right? A couple more Kentucky summers and it can change a whole lot. And it's cool to stair step them, and then being able to get the single barrel 10-year that is Kyle's favorite, like if it's available, right? Like that, can really show the progression. And I think that's one thing that whiskey people want to do. And people who follow NASCAR from a longevity perspective, they want to see growth. They want to see maturation out of their driver. They don't want the same shtick over and over again. They want to see, the opportunity for the racer to mature, for the sponsors to mature, for the brand to mature. And I think that's what's really cool here in this kind of like parallel is, the transition over time from where you were to where you are now is pretty cool.
Absolutely. So
one of the other things that's really interesting is when you think about Lux Row Distillers and how far it's come along, the opportunities are boundless. And I think this will expand into a new group of folks into NASCAR. So like, what do you see as an opportunity for the brand, John, like working with Kyle and the team to expand the growth of the Rebel brand? Oh,
I mean, having that car wrapped with the Rebel and that's one of the best looking cars I think I've ever seen. When they pulled that up in the parking lot and backed that thing out of the trailer, I could not believe how awesome that thing looks. But just getting that out there and getting new people that haven't tried the brand to try it, because I've always said if you get this on people's lips, they're going to buy the bottle. When people come into the distillery and they taste it, they buy the bottle. It's just getting people out there. So getting that exposure and getting that new drinker to know about Rebel, to see it and to see that thing flying around the track on the side of the car. It's a great, incredible opportunity for us.
No, for sure. And Kyle, we know that you are a busy man and it's race week. But as we kind of let you fade out here, what are you looking forward to this weekend? What's your all's plan of action on how you all can go and capture the crown in Richmond this weekend?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to getting to Richmond. It's one of my favorite places, one of my better racetracks. So hopefully we can keep that streak going of strong runs there and really good top 5 finishes. Of course, I want to win. I want to take that paint scheme that John loves so much and carry it fast to victory lane. It's going to look great out there on the racetrack. And of course, I've already been signing, Rebel bottles throughout the year of different fans, bringing them up to me and putting my autograph on them for them. So they are certainly picking them up and purchasing them. I'm not sure they're drinking them though, because they're going to probably keep those signed ones as collector's items. But it's been really, really cool to just kind of see the relationship behind the scenes and the partnership that Rebel is with Richard Childress Racing and myself, flourish hopefully this weekend. And like I said, go to victory lane. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. Well, best of luck this weekend.
So whenever you are in victory lane this weekend, usually it's a celebratory, soda that's thrown or beer or champagne or something like that. Should we expect maybe a nice pour of Rebel bourbon in Victory Circle?
Damn right. Heck yeah. We've got it all primed and ready to go. So love to showcase that and show all of our fans that we enjoy the consumption responsibly of the Rebel bourbon.
Yeah. Instead of it flying soda or flying champagne, it's just small, neat pours of
there you go.
Of Rebel into a Glencairn. Keep it classy. Pinky's out on that one. Well, Kyle, best of luck this weekend. We appreciate you joining us and look forward to seeing that beautiful car race around the track on Sunday.
Absolutely. No worries. Thank you guys. Appreciate the hospitality and enjoy this weekend. We'll see you, John.
All right.
Cheers. See you this weekend.
Thanks, Kyle.
Got it.
Well, as Kyle leaves, John, we're going to keep you for a few more minutes here just to keep talking.
Sure.
I'm really excited about Lux Row Distillers in general because of the versatility that you all have with your kind of overarching partnerships. I mean, is there something like on the horizon that we should be looking for with Lux Row Distillers other than like this Rebel 106 year? Like, is there something that excites you for 2024 that you can talk about yet?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I came up with as new innovation for this was for our barrel program. So we're doing what we're calling a stave finish. So we've got we do our Ezra barrels and we do our Rebel barrels, and we've got 3 different stave finishes for those that customers can come in, they can pick a barrel, and then we've got samples of the stave finished barrels that they could smell and they can taste, and that'll give them an idea of what the barrel that they picked will be after they do that stave finish. So that's really exciting. And then, I mean, along with this new partnership with Kyle Busch and Richard Childress Racing, we've got some stuff coming in down the line this year and next year. I can't. I actually asked our marketing guy right before I got on here. I said, "Can I talk about it?" He said, "Not specifics." And I knew that was going to be the answer. But we've got some stuff. We've got some really, really awesome stuff. Richard Childress has got that winery, and so that piqued my interest. That piqued his interest also too. Doing some collaborations with them and some cool new bottle designs and stuff coming out too. So I wish I can get into more specifics for you guys. But, we've got some awesome stuff coming down though.
It just means we got to get back with you, right? Like that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
And you all have experience with the finished whiskeys. If you just enjoy the Davies County brand, you have some good finishes there. So that should be not a big stretch for you all to mess with.
No, I love doing that. That's one of my favorite things. That's with my Blood Oath also. That I'm always doing different barrel finishes on that. We got Blood Oath 10 coming out next month. Wow. That's a 10-year anniversary. I can't believe it's already been 10 years. Wow. I remember when we first started this brand. I'm always kind of somewhat of a pessimist. I mean, I was plan for the worst and be excited as hell when that doesn't happen. But Blood Oath has been just such a success story for us, and we've got the new Pack 10 coming out next month, and that's actually a little bit different. I got a double finish on that one, so it's going to be awesome.
And now that we know that Kyle Busch likes the 10-year, maybe there's a single barrel in the works for Kyle Busch.
Yeah. We've got something coming up for that. Yeah.
No, you're training his palate. So,
Yeah. So what is it like the last what is it like to working with someone who maybe knows whiskey at a consumer level, but like never, like as he mentioned, never thought about trying to find flavors, never thought about trying to think critically about the whiskey. What's it like working with them to help them see it differently as they, kind of expand and explore the partnership that they have with you all?
Yeah. I mean, when Kyle was at the distillery back in December, when they brought the car up there, I had a chance to walk him around, give him a pretty thorough behind the scenes tour of the whole distillery, and just kind of watching him, kind of just saying, "Oh my God, I had no idea it was this involved and there was this much to it." He's like, you go to the store and you buy a bottle of bourbon and you don't really think anything other than, wow, this is some good bourbon. But you go to a distillery and you see how it's made and you see all that's involved, and then sitting down with him and just going through several of our whiskeys and explaining the mash bills and explaining the taste profiles and explaining to him what he's tasting and what's there, and just watching him discover. I mean, like he was saying before, just, he never sat down and really, thoroughly picked apart, the taste profile of a bourbon. We did that, and we sat there and just being able to teach somebody and watch them experience and watch them grow as a drinker of bourbon. And that's probably one of the most favorite things that I do.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Taking someone that is an expert in a field and then teach them something in another field altogether, so they can learn to appreciate what's available to them, which is
absolutely
pretty damn cool. Well, Scott, I know we've gotten to talk NASCAR, we've gotten to talk bourbon. Is there any other questions you got for Mr. Rimpey before we let him go, and until next time with him, right?
Yeah, until the next time, right?
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun. I was excited when I saw the news, the press release. A Kentucky bourbon was going to be on a car, on a NASCAR. And then, to find out it's Rebel Bourbon, which is just down in Bardstown. I think that's really freaking cool.
Yeah. No, it's pretty awesome. Well, and we look forward to, I'm tuning in this weekend. I don't normally tune into NASCAR, but I'm tuning in this weekend. I'll have a nice glass of Rebel and, and cheer on Kyle, and make sure everyone listen to this prior to the race this Sunday, because that's what's happening. We'll give you a nice preview of what's going on. So make sure you tune in. Well, John, we appreciate it. And we look forward to, continuing the story with you in the years to come and in the months to come as new projects come available. And we'll keep an eye out with all the new latest comings with Lux Row Distiller. So we appreciate you spending a few minutes with us this morning.
No, definitely my pleasure. I really appreciate you having me on, sitting here and talking whiskey and NASCAR with Kyle Busch. It's been a great time.
Yeah,
we'll
awesome.
appreciate it. Until next time, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. Make sure you're connected with Scott and I via social media on Instagram, X, and Facebook. We'd love to connect. And if you're more the professional type, follow us over on LinkedIn. If you want to know more about Bourbon Lens, make sure you're subscribed to our weekly newsletter, The Weekly Pour. For exclusive content and more, check out Patreon. Follow us there at Bourbon Lens. And last but not least, on your favorite podcast listening app, make sure you're subscribed, because every Monday, Scott and I release a podcast, and we would love to have you here listening to the newest features and the newest whiskey news. And until next time, cheers.